Hard hats, folks. Hard hats. Lunch pails, steel toe boots.
Anything short of a championship this year is a failure. Look at this boomer right here.
You've just got so much talent here.
Somebody said we need to apologize for Jalen.
Can I call it John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do?
Bobby Manning is at the game, but really has nothing to do except come hang out with us.
This might be the earliest Bobby has been in with us all season.
Oh, no. I did it last show, too. And on Sunday, I will do it again.
The Stay Ready crew, Bobby Manning is ready, and he's there. Josue is also there. We'll get him later. It'll be a relatively short show. It was a relatively short game, and I love these 2-hour games. I will say, and yes, Crispin, absolutely parroting here one of my tweets from tonight, maybe my only tweet tonight. The Stay Ready crew should be embarrassed for going out there and trying like they did in a meaningless game, because as we've learned, you're not supposed to try in these games, okay? You're not. You're supposed to try and lose, Bobby. So I don't know what these guys were doing out there. Explain.
They followed Pritchard, right? He just went and they followed. And that's the one thing I can say about tonight, and probably the only thing I can say about tonight, is when he gets to lead the show, and we've seen it a bunch of times at this point, it's pretty fun. I mean, what he's capable of doing out there with that second unit, with no starters, that's the one thing you can take from this, right, John? Because maybe Hauser's going to play out of all the guys we saw tonight, and Tillman, Cornette, maybe at certain points. But Pritchard's that guy we've looked at and said, he's probably your seventh guy almost every night. And for him to be able to lift up guys around him like this at this level, I know I threw out that stat that like 7 out of his 13 highest assist games ever came from March to early April. Something like that, 6 to 13. He's raised his level, and we've talked about the burst. You see that in a game like this too, able to create some separation, not turning the ball over despite how much he's doing. And we've praised his defense at points too. So this is the only thing that matters to me in a game like this, is you see potentially what Pritchard could give you with extra minutes in a playoff game if he gets hot, if he gets going, and they rely on him consistently night in and night out.
Well, you know what? He's the one guy that when you think about the players from last season who are back, whose role was going to potentially be significantly greater than it was previously. When you look at the moves that they made to create space for him to potentially play more. And I give him a lot of credit because he's made the most of his opportunities out there, which is something that we haven't always been able to say with guys when they've had opportunities to play significant minutes or more minutes than they usually do. So Pritchard, he's ready for the playoffs more than I think any of the non-core guys, starter guys on this team. And again, every chance he gets to showcase what he can do when he's given an opportunity to play a leading role, he steps up and delivers.
Yeah, not only that, I think it also kind of brings into focus a little bit, Bobby, the Delano Banton conversation from the other night. When you saw him, and we're talking about the type of stats that he puts up. Peyton Pritchard tonight is an example of what someone with, some measure of skill can do when you just say, it doesn't matter. Go do whatever.
Imagine if he ended up on the Spurs in that Pearl trade, he would have been averaging 20 a game, and we would have been.
So again, out. on a nothing team where he just gets to go out there and just fire away and get 18 shots a game. Yeah, Pritchard's going to score 18, 19, 20 points a game, probably. And that's why you're not missing on a guy like Banton so much, because it just wasn't going to happen here. There weren't really the minutes there, unless you think he was a part of your core you could have kept for cheap longer term. But I don't think so, because again, you're looking 3 years down the road before you need anybody to make a contribution on this team. So I just don't know what you were missing there. I'm not trying to revisit that fully, just to simply say, NBA players, a lot of them, when they are put in a position to do this kind of thing, can do this kind of thing. But Pritchard's done it with the starters and in meaningful minutes as well. Banton did not. And he didn't get much of an opportunity. But Pritchard, it might be the story of the second half of the season. He really might be, because I think everyone felt pretty good about Hauser. If the shots are hitting, he's okay. He's not killing you on defense. You feel good about the top six. But like, was Pritchard really the guy rounding out the eight? Was that okay? And he's been, like I said, my feelings on Pritchard in general is that, like, not only are you trying to survive these minutes, as we use that term from time to time, when you're bringing in bench guys, you actually look forward to what Pritchard brings when he enters the game right now. And that's not something I thought we'd be saying about him. I thought it'd be like, it's a team that's front loaded, so you'll live with Hauser and Pritchard because that's the best you've got. It's better than that. He's better than that. He's actually beyond useful. He's valuable. And so that's something I don't think we saw fully coming at the beginning of the year.
No, it's that bench conversation we've had all year. Who's going to be reliable in that group? And many guys have made that statement throughout the year, and I think all of them have to some degree. But Pritchard rose a little bit above in terms of being able to do it night in and night out. He's had a few empty games this year, but not many. And he's had more games where you've been wowed by him. And so to me, Sherrod, I think we thought it might be Hauser for a little while. But when you add in the ball handling element with Pritchard, I think more often than not, he's going to be that seventh guy off the bench, because you have those six starters, essentially. That seventh guy who's playing a little bit more off that bench in the tight rotation, to me, is Pritchard. And we'll see how he handles teams hunting him. I think he does a decent job with it. It reaches another level in the playoffs, especially against the tougher matchups. But especially in the early rounds, I think he can survive and be a plus.
Yeah, I definitely think he can be a plus. And I think he is showing that careful what you ask for, careful who you try to hunt. Because as much as you may think that you can go at him and hunt him, guess what? He can go at you and he can hunt you down. And I think he's shown the ability to not just be someone who can withstand what other teams throw his way, but he can throw some punches as well out there. I think back to, the little kind of kerfuffle him and Patrick Beverley got into, earlier, a few weeks ago, and he didn't back down. And that's one of those guys that has the ability consistently to get under your skin and take you out of your element. And to Pritchard's credit, he was able to handle his business, continue to play at a relatively high level, and give them what they need. And that's what they're going to be asking and expecting of him now, because now it's to the point now, and this kind of piggybacks off what John was saying, there is an expectation when he gets on the floor that good things are about to happen. Not, can he please hold the fort down and don't blow this 14-point lead?
Yep.
It's like, damn, he's about to push this lead to 20 because he's going to knock down a three. He's going to find Sam. He's going to drop a dime to Tatum or someone cutting to the basket. He's going to do something to help whatever position they're in now grow. And that is a significant change from where he was at the beginning of the season. And I'd even go further down, maybe 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, it's been that way. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
I glitched out for a second. I apologize. I had to kind of plug everything back in there. So yeah, Pritchard's definitely a story. I think there's a few other snapshots you can take from tonight's game that I think are interesting. Again, I think this isn't. First of all, I think this is pretty funny. Celtics celebrate fan appreciation night by resting their top 6 players. But again, you get to, which I love, and then but you get to see. You get to see more guys that you don't see. One person we haven't seen at all is Queta. And it's interesting just how his story has unfolded. You had a little stretch in, maybe kind of around, 2/3 of the way through the season, wherever it was, Bobby, 4/5, where like Queta looked like he was pressing Luke for that third center role. And then Luke kind of
see what happens.
Up. It's not a dig. I'm not doing it. But then Cornette played well. He has Joe's trust. He was in there. And then Queta kind of disappeared, headed into Maine, did all of his things. And then what we thought would happen, he gets that contract end of the year. And now he's full. you wonder, and then you see Tillman kind of playing some rotation minutes here. You really do wonder what they're going to do. I really think it's going to be a very matchup dependent ninth guy in that playoffs. And I don't think Queta's out of the mix entirely, despite
Really?
I don't fully, because again, we talk about some of the things he brings you. And again, that offensive rebounding and just be able to be there in that presence and those putbacks and what he can do inside is just the easy buckets
just
you need
reaches up.
sometimes, right?
He just reaches up and dunks it. Yeah.
I don't know,
It's
John.
okay.
I think
I don't
Queta's
agree either.
I think Queta is
don't
just
think he's ready.
basically running out the shot clock for them now, just out there because they just need a warm body to play. And it has nothing to me. It has nothing to do with his ability and everything to do with something, John, you pointed out earlier, and that's trust. I just don't think Joe trusts him. He likes.
I don't. I think he's learned to trust Tillman because, again, the defense there and the switchability. And despite the fact that Tillman continues to not have good-looking lines, and you have lines like tonight where Cornette, he's up there. He's a plus 30 with the starters, and he scores 10 points early, and he looks good. But there is something to be said about Tillman and the minutes he might get simply because of that physical presence, his ability to switch. But I am curious what happens here. But I think Queta starts tonight in place of Luke. He puts up 30. He puts up 30 points tonight. I really think it. I really do.
Come on, John. You sound like me right now.
40 points then. I'm doubling down. 50.
Who knew John
Lord
was
is not walking through that door,
John.
You should get a Queta jersey.
Queta's about to go in the locker room, Bobby. Did you want to talk to him? Amit's in there holding your spot.
I'll head out in a minute. Wait till Josue hops on here.
Yeah, all right. So I look. You're probably right. Probably not. It wouldn't shock me though. If it wouldn't shock me.
I would love to see it though. I would absolutely love to see it because to me, and I've watched Queta play in the G League, and I totally understand why he seems so active at the NBA level. Because in the G League, you got a bunch of little guards who are trying to score at the cup, and so you're going to swat a lot of shots. You're going to go after every single shot because you know you can get it. Can't do that in the NBA. Queta's going to figure that out, but I just don't think Joe trusts him enough to put him in a playoff game where he might actually play a role that matters. I think Luke and Tillman have earned that trust, and Queta, I don't think Queta's earned the trust because I don't think he's had an opportunity to earn that trust, and I don't think this last game is going to be enough. I don't think that he's had enough games to earn Joe's trust, and which to me is too bad because I do think he can play. I think he can really, really help them at some point. But
there are some Rob elements here. I think we made that comparison earlier in the year. Not in pedigree, right?
We have.
Rob was a legit. If he didn't
that
have
twinkle in John's eye, I haven't seen that since Time Lord was roaming the paints in Boston. When he talks about Queta, he's got that Time Lord twinkle.
It's a ceiling versus floor thing. I think he does some things. I totally see it. The Rob comparisons are simply he looks lost out there sometimes defensively, and
he's swatting everything in sight.
But he also, he's got that help side thing, and he can,
I think he's better offensively. Yeah. In the defense, he's capable because of the size, but that's the work in progress into next year.
That's about it.
However long
that's about it.
Roll with that development.
There's a presence out there, and you like it. You never know if it turns into anything.
It's tough, John,
but it's an interesting element. And I thought he looked really good. I thought he looked, I think some seasoning over the last 20, 30 games in Maine helped him a little bit. He looked less lost,
he's
in
a rhythm.
It definitely looks more like in control and more like a ball player as opposed to a guy who can do some things physically. That was my takeaway in just seeing him really for the first time first time extended action in forever. Bobby, you're like, the main number one super fan, so you've been watching him play a bit there, but I don't know. It looked different to me.
Yeah, he dominates up there, like Sherrod said. He could be the best player in the G League, period. It's easy for him when you go to that level just because of the size and the mix of skill he brings as well. So that's too easy for him at this point. You like seeing him in these NBA games and see what he's capable of in these spots. And that was, a borderline G League Hornets lineup on the other side tonight too. So you don't take a bunch of stock in it, but you do take stock in through all that inexperience and maybe not being up to 100% in the system and even some injuries early in the year. He had a foot fracture to start this year.
Yeah.
For him to still give you good minutes during that December stretch where Kristaps is out, Luke's out for a little bit there. I think there was another stretch later in the year where he played a couple games. He held the line, and this is what I keep saying about him because I was excited when they got him. He was a guy I always loved at Summer League. Kings loved him. They let him go because they wanted to sign JaVale McGee. But the Celtics to get him on that two-way, I thought that was such a heist. And we've talked about all these other teams that have done it, the Heat especially. I don't think he's a playoff guy this year, John. We'll see if he becomes their backup center down the line. But for you to get what you got from him this year as a two-way, that's incredible, I think. And that stuff doesn't get as much credit as the Holidays and the Porzingises and moves like that. But this was a really good find here. And after already finding Luke, Tillman looks like he's going to be in the mix here. And, beyond this year, John, Luke's a free agent. Tillman's a free agent. One of those guys maybe is gone. Maybe you can keep both. I don't really know. But if one does go, all of a sudden you need Queta a little bit next year. Brissett in that mix too. I think he's past Brissett at this point, effectively, in terms of long-term staying power with the team. So this is great. And he's pretty young too. He's on the younger side. There's a lot to love here. It's a real physical talent.
He looked, like I said, he looked like he had it more together, and that's good. Couple other
Playoffs,
observations.
I'd hit pause.
You're probably right. I might have gotten out in front of my skis there. But I say this, and again, it's impossible to say this without sounding like it's an agenda.
Hey, stay ready though. Stay ready.
It's impossible to say what I'm about to say without it sounding like a dig, but I'm maintaining it. I think Tillman has trust or will have some trust in the playoffs because, as I said, the defensive versatility and the physicality, I don't believe Luke does. I don't believe, like I said, I don't believe Luke gets extended run in the playoffs unless there's a specific need.
Didn't you think Luke was good tonight?
I thought he was good. In the playoffs, I've always thought it's going to be white knuckle time. And is this, was this a bad move? And I think he can get played off the court fast. And I think Joe can get,
you're thinking of the old Luke.
I think he's going to have a real quick trigger with him. That's all. And only because of that, I wondered whether, Queta might be able to get in there against bigger, longer. You get Orlando or someone like that. You might need a little bit more athleticism and someone who can get up and do things. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here.
Well, the big thing now is that Joe has options. I mean, remember, Queta was hurt for a pretty sizable chunk at the start of the season. Tillman wasn't around. So he really didn't have a choice but to play Luke and develop Luke and hope that he could, continue to get better. But now you've got a healthy Queta. You've got a Tillman who seems to be gaining the trust of Joe and the coaching staff and his teammates. And it gives you the ability to have a shorter hook with Luke because you have an alternative that can give you something that Luke doesn't.
One game, Queta's replacing Cornette.
No, I'm just Bobby. We're talking playoffs. We are not talking about this one.
The bench might not even get there. We might not even get that far in the bench. Honestly,
and Pritchard.
You might.
I don't know, John. They're gonna go double big in the playoffs. They've done it so we're beyond the point where it's experimenting and tinkering. Second half of the year, their rotations were going into double bigs every single game for significant minutes. And then you saw a little bit in a recent game. I can't remember what one exactly. The last one, maybe the Knicks or the one before that. You did that single big rotation and went smaller in the second unit. And it didn't look as good. And these double big lineups, doesn't matter who you're putting out there together. The Porzingis Horford one's the best one. But you put Luke and Horford. You put Luke and Tillman and Horford. Even Luke and Tillman a little bit, which you're not going to see, but they've tinkered with that. They love double big, and I think that's going to be part of their mix here, and that's what gets Cornette onto the floor. That's what gets Tillman out there in certain matchups. I don't think they're going to abandon that, and I do trust Joe when he said 2 weeks ago, we used our bench a lot during the regular season. We have to get to that in the playoffs too, and you might be right, John. Maybe it won't work, maybe those minutes will be so bad, and you know how it goes in the playoffs. You get away from it quick, and then maybe doesn't come back in the second half. At least in that first round, they're going to try to have all these guys in the mix at some point or another, depending on what the matchup is. And I don't know if it's going to get to Queta, but you're going to use Luke. You're going to use Tillman at certain points here.
Yep, no doubt about it.
Facts.
We'll get in more on some of the stuff we saw tonight from some of the Stay Ready crew. But again, I don't think it goes far beyond the guys that we talked about here. As far as tonight goes, we do want to tell you a little bit about. Let me tell you. What am I telling you about? Where is it? Where is it? Did I lose it? Oh yeah, PXG. There it is. What do you know about PXG, Bobby? You kind of golf, right?
Yeah, I went last week, wore my PXG gear.
Yeah,
had a good time. It's a warm-up round. Yeah, I'm okay.
You kind of golf, but you like to look good when you golf, and PXG, that's what they're there to do. As Bobby said, he wore the gear. I'm wearing it right now. PXG.
That's the most important part.
You got to look good. PXG on a mission to create high-quality, high-performance, the most high-quality, high-performance golf clubs in the game, but same passion to the apparel, and it is pretty sweet. Premium materials, technology, breathable, light, looks sharp. Polos, pants, sweaters, quarter zips, joggers, jackets, whatever you want, go get it. We all got some here at the Garden Report. And as Bobby said, he wore them out on the course. How do you feel? Did you feel like loose and free and easy swinging the clubs, Bobby?
Oh yeah, that's the best part is your swing so free in it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Really, it's really free. I really dig this shirt. Anyway, check it out if you want to. And I have a few golf shirts. This is not a joke. This one feels the best. I love it. I really do. So check it out. Summer collection's out. Head over to pxg.com/garden. Use code garden and check out. Save 10% on all apparel. I've already ordered another one, even though I got one free. We
might have to get out there next week, John. We have a whole week off.
I'm thinking about it.
Going on. Amit will record. We'll wear PXG.
Yeah.
Fun.
I may get out there. I'm in Vegas next week at a conference.
Oh, they got a nice course there.
They got a few. They got a few. So I'm thinking about it, but I'll bring the PXG gear just in case. But check it out. pxg.com/garden. Save 10% on all apparel. And those guys who want to get moving and you want to get into it, the play-ins start here. Get in on the action with Prize Picks. Okay, play-in games next week. Playoffs next weekend. NBA, NHL, whatever have you. You pick your players, go more or less on any statistics, and that's it. That's how you get the cash to roll in. You want to take advantage of this deposit here or this special offer. If you download the app and put in the code CLNS, deposit $100, immediate 100% deposit match, up to $100. It's right there, bing, in your account. You can use it, and as we said, pick your players, 4, 6, whatever, more, less, and win up to 10 times your money. Go to Prize Picks once again, promo code CLNS. Couple things going on in and around the league tonight, which are interesting. For a split second, the Sixers had moved up to the 6th seed by beating the Orlando Magic. And then a couple of minutes later, the Cavaliers beat the Pacers, and Orlando shot right back up now to the 5th seed. Orlando had fallen to 7, and with the Pacers loss, they go to 5, Indiana to 6, and Philly goes back down to 7. The Sixers have won 7 straight games, and that they're still fighting for it here, guys. They're still fighting for this last spot. So they are still in play-in territory despite what they've been doing.
Yeah, and the most important factor is Embiid goes down tonight.
But he came back.
But still, not a great look. And that's happened a couple times to him since he's returned, tweaking it and not looking good and then trying to just push through it. So that's a factor there too, into that playing game, of course, if he's not himself.
But again, you got it all comes down to Sunday here.
Now he had 32 tonight.
Mm-hmm. He did. Magic, Bucks are obvious. Bucks at this point. Bucks are in a weird spot. Okay, Bucks did not want to get to this point. If you look ahead to Sunday, right? Bucks they have the tiebreaker over the Knicks. They're now tied in the standings. Knicks have to win and the Bucks have to lose. Bucks are playing the Magic, who are trying desperately to stay out of play-in territory. And honestly, you're going to have to play your guys to not lose that game. It's in Orlando. That's a losable game for the Bucks. And the Knicks are playing the Bulls, and the Knicks could flip-flop there and go to 2 with the Bucks going to 3. That would be a bit of a development. If the Magic hold and they win there, they're going to hang in there and stay out of the play-in territory. So that's obviously something that they want to do. Pacers are playing the Hawks. The Hawks have nothing to play for. They're in play-in land as well. Pacers win. So these are all winnable games here for Sunday for those teams to stay ahead of the Sixers and put them into play-in land and put them in a one-off here with Miami for that 7-8 spot.
Yeah, and at this point, you're looking at the Magic if they end up sliding further into that play-in game where they'd probably lose to the Heat. Again, you never know who's going to win. We still have to talk about 9 and 10 to some degree too, even though I'm just about ready to rule those teams out. The Magic would be that team. I have a lot of respect for them. They've had a great year. They have a tough defense, and they've made it hard on the Celtics in the past.
Yeah.
But if they end up sliding down into that 8 seed and it's Magic Celtics round 1, which was inconceivable because they were doing so good and they were so high.
Yeah, they were in the 2 spot for a little bit.
Yeah. So if that happens, we've talked about it all year. Do you want someone to wake you up a little bit? Do you want someone who you can slide past? I think that's been more your thinking, John. That's probably a team you could sweep. So if you're looking for
Magic,
if you're looking for the easy first round, that's the one you want, I think.
How interesting.
I don't think you're going to sweep them.
Their offense is abysmal, Sherrod, though. They're tough.
I know.
They're well coached, but they can't score with you.
The strength of that team is their defense. And in the playoffs, that's typically the difference between you getting from one round to the next is your defense, or at least challenging a team in a round is your defense.
Well, this brings us back to the conversation from yesterday. Are you showing up as the mid-season kill everybody Celtics? Or are you showing up as we're playing the Magic? We got this Celtics. Because if it's the latter, there could be some trouble there, Sherrod.
Yeah, it's going to be six game series at that point.
But if you take it seriously, you're sweeping them.
If you take any of these series serious, I mean, I think there's only maybe top 5, top 6 teams in the East. If they took every single team seriously, you might have 1 or 2 series that might go beyond the sweep.
Right.
They're that dominant when they lock in. They're that dominant. So
based on what we've seen, that should be true.
Yeah.
For some reason, we don't trust them, and that might be rightfully so.
Well, that's because we're banking on history. I mean, our history tells us not to trust this team. History tells us that they're going to have a letdown when you least expect them to have one.
There's something to be said for that. You know, I'm going back and forth on the God, we're going to roll these guys opponent versus the one that's a little bit tougher. That Atlanta series was infuriating last year. Infuriating.
Just made absolutely no sense what the hell was going on. No sense at all.
I'll say it. I don't not trust this team, but I don't trust this team until I see it. Okay. And I think you're going to get a good indication early what's going on here. Because if there's any measure of fucking around in the playoffs again, it's like, nope, they have not learned. Meaning at any point in time, they can go into that mode. You know, I don't believe this is a team that's going to struggle in game 1 in the playoffs and it'll be a wake-up call and they'll never let their guard down again. If they get into that stuff and we've got games where like we just didn't come out with fire tonight, I'm out.
We just didn't have it tonight.
If we get one of those in the playoffs, I'm out. Okay, so out.
Someone just said in the chat they'd be stunned, or they wouldn't be stunned if they went 12-0 in the East. I'd be stunned.
I would be.
Yeah.
I would.
I mean, that would just be such a level.
And Luis is right. I'm with you. I have trust issues with this team too.
It's hard not to. And they're different teams, Sherrod, but the history, the mentality still there to some degree.
It is, and every now and then it'll seep out,
Thank you,
and then you're
LaShawn.
reminded of
We've
it.
all been watching. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Sherrod.
No, I was just gonna say I want to trust him. I do, but I can't because you don't want to get Charlie Brown, where Lucy's got the football and you're ready to go, and the next thing you know, you're flat on your ass. Why? Because you trusted him. They should sweep most of the teams that they see in the playoffs, but they won't. And I don't care. I don't care about that. I just care about them playing at a level that you should be, that shows respect for your opponent.
That's why I don't care about the opponent. I don't really.
I was just going to ask you what you want.
I only don't want Philly because honestly, they might be the second best team in the East. That's the worst. That's a ridiculous first round matchup. With Embiid back, that's as dangerous a team as you're going to face.
That's like an East Finals in the first round. Which
it's closer to an East Finals in the first round. Everybody else, it doesn't matter. You're so much better than you're so much better than pretty much every team that if you have an issue, it's because of you, not them. The Celtics, if the Celtics are as good as we believe they are and people think they are, it shouldn't matter. And if they start to melt down, it's not because of that team, it's because of them. So I don't care. I really don't care. Loser teams worry about matchups, or teams that are vulnerable worry about matchups. The top teams don't. Loser teams do what the Heat do. They play zone and do tricky stuff and try to mess with you. The Celtics are here's my guys, go roll the ball out and win. That's what they're supposed to do.
But Joe said they're not hiding anything. There's nothing they're pulling out in the playoffs. What they've done this year is what you're going to get later.
Yeah.
They just have to do it well. And game in, game out, quarter to quarter, end of quarters, between halves. I mean, those stretches where they let up in games that turn into lost leads or mount into big deficits more rarely because they haven't had many big deficits this year. Those are the stretches that kill them because you're going to go up big in a lot of these games. Can you maintain the lead? Can you maintain what you're doing? To bring it back to tonight, it's great that you have this group that can come in if you have a big lead in the playoff game and do this kind of stuff because then you're not going to have any teams sneaking back in the fourth quarter if you're up 25-30.
You're not going to Geno time lineup
25-30.
You're in the playoffs, you're not doing that unless there's 4 minutes left. You're not doing the empty the bench at the 9-minute mark of the fourth quarter in a playoff game. You're just not doing it. You have to be up by 100.
Yeah, don't feel comfortable using the Hornets as a measuring stick for how you're going to do something in the playoffs. That feels icky.
Stay ready, crew. I guess they'll just have to stay ready.
You gotta stay ready.
Look, I've said from the beginning of the year, and we're going to get into our playoff previews because we're going to have a bit of time next week, and we'll talk about it. It all comes down to Tatum and then to a lesser degree Brown. If they don't get there, I think it'll be because the top players didn't play like the top players and not because of anybody else. But fans will blame, probably in order, Joe, the bench, and then Holiday if they lose. As opposed to whatever, but it's really going to be the stars. I think everyone else is going to do their part. It's going to be harder. It's just time to kind of sack up here and then just go. And they should be able to. This shouldn't be stressful getting to at least the conference finals, if not honestly the finals, given not just how good they've been, just the state of disrepair of most of the teams in the East right now. I just think that they're, Orlando's trending in the wrong direction, Indiana in the wrong direction. Knicks are great and they're spunky and they play good defense and they play hard, but they're still missing one of their best overall players. And that's hard to overcome in a 7-game series there as well. Milwaukee's been a mess and who knows what's going on with Giannis. There's just not really any excuses here to not get there. And again, the people who are saying 12-0, 12-2, yeah, they could, they should, maybe, they should win a couple of these things pretty easily. You'd really love to see them come out with a round one sweep, we're here and we mean business, don't play with your food. Don't mess around here. Just go, just do it. So Is it different? Is it different? I think we'll get a good read early. I think we will. But I get it. People have trust issues. I think they're justified. I think they are. They have not earned. That's the thing. I guess this is the question. I'll ask you guys. Has the regular season, do they get the benefit of the doubt because of how well they've played in the regular season? Or do they not get the benefit of the doubt because you've seen at least the core two and the best players on this team not be able to do it in years past? Because again, it's really only the two remaining here that have had their hands in all of the disappointment or all of the near misses over the years. Do they get the benefit of the doubt or not?
No.
No.
I'm not. No. Their body of work. Go ahead, Bobby.
I felt all along that they're going to get through the East. Maybe it's in torturous fashion. Maybe it's longer of a path than you would want it to be. It's just you get down to that thing of, can a team beat you 4 times in a week and a half? And Celtics haven't had many stretches like that this year. I don't think they've had any. There's been a week and a half here where they've lost 4 games. Again, that's all scheduling, but to be this consistent, to see their A game this often during the year, because again, we compare it to last year a lot, and I think it's valid to some degree because the core pieces are the same. And this is what we're talking about here, right? It's Brown and Tatum and their ability to carry them. But you changed so much around them, and that altered their consistency so much this year that I do give them the benefit of the doubt to some degree. Because all I can go on is what they showed us this year, and the team's so different this year, John. So the fear is there for me.
I agree. It's so different. I don't know that Tatum and Brown are different. And again, it's not a knock, but I think it's those guys. You're going to need them to elevate you in those times. And I do get nervous about it.
That's why we talk about crunch time so much.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's going to be on them.
About it because Tatum's given us a reason to not want the ball in his hands in critical situations. And that's not a feeling you should have about your best player. It's a weird feeling to have entering the playoffs, that when things get really tight, give it to this guy and he'll make it all better. And you don't have that feeling with the guy who's supposed to be your best player. And that's a little weird. You're reliant on the whole machine functioning at an incredibly high level, which it has all year. And that's what they've been good, but that might be regular season stuff. Sometimes you just have to one guy's just got to make plays and got to do it when it counts. And Tatum has not given you reason to think he's that guy. And that's a little worrisome, there. But again, they might be so good where they may have most teams at arm's length throughout a lot of games, and then you don't really have to worry about it. So
that's what you're hoping for. If you're the Celtics, that's the best case scenario, so that you won't have to deal with those Tatum late game execution questions and issues. Because if we're really being serious and honest, their best late game performers are Derek White, are Kristaps Porzingis, Jaylen Brown, and then you're probably looking at Tatum as the fourth. And so at that point, he's better off being a late game decoy than a late game go-to guy. And that's where, to me, it gets a little bit dicey if you're the Boston Celtics, because conventional wisdom tells you, it tells John, and tells all of us that down by 1, 10 seconds left, get the ball to your best player, get out of the way. When in reality, it's down by 1, have your best player dive to the basket and find Derek White in a corner for a wide open 3.
Yeah. Or have Derek White run an action your screen with Porzingis and get things moving. But yeah, I don't know. And
I don't think there's anything wrong with your best player not being the best player in those moments. Because if you're all about saying we're a team, if you're all about we need to do what's best for the team, the collective, then you're going to be okay with Tatum as a decoy in the last minute or the last 30 seconds of a game. If it means the guys who normally excel in those moments, his teammates, are in position to do that. I don't have a problem with Tatum not being great in that moment, as long as they recognize that and get the ball in the hands and get the players in position who execute in those moments more times than not.
Yeah. So again, that's some stuff that we're gonna And I think it's not all. It's some of it's not fair because again, Tatum's had several like season-saving. He's got a couple season-saving performances under his on his resume for sure. So again, there's been moments where he's absolutely been the only guy on the planet who could save this team, from a calamitous ending. And this year again, they're just overall better, so you've needed it less, and that's fine. I have 2 Bobby Mannings on the screen. I don't know why, but that's fine. I'm going to stick with this one's out. This one's no good. We're going to try this one. Is that one better?
Some connection issues there, yeah.
Let's put the other one on here too. He's gone.
That's what frustrates me about the coaching sometimes, Sherrod, is I do think Tatum's willing to defer in those spots based on everything we've seen from him last couple of years, based on everything he says. I even asked him after that Atlanta game, you okay going in a different direction? Because they did in that overtime, if you remember, for the Brown shot. And he said, sure.
They had him die. Yeah.
That's fine. So
yeah,
he's more than willing to do that. So Joe is coach. Drop something different. I don't think there's anything so because if you had a star player who demanded that, and who knows, maybe he does, and we just don't know. That's different because you don't want to lose that player. But I don't think that's who Tatum is. Do you think he would have any problem deferring in those positions, John? Maybe not every time, but we're talking about variety.
Right. I don't know. We've always talked about it. And look, and we're talking about a scenario that may or may not come up a lot in the playoffs. You don't really know when you're going to be in those close and late situations. You just expect to. So I think we're putting a lot of stock in the last like 30 seconds, who gets the ball in their hands sort of situation. And yes, I think oftentimes you're going to keep giving it to your best player because that's what you're supposed to do. But it really is more a matter of, it's less that, and it's more a matter of the hijacking of the offense. It's what's scarier than a tie game with, than being down 1 with 20 seconds left, having a 10-point lead with 5 minutes left, like that's scarier to me because that's where you see like some of those worst tendencies come out. And that's the stuff that you want to kind of get out of you wish they had flushed out of their system a little bit. When people talk about the late game execution, I think there's just too much focus on Tatum going ISO, smothering the ball, or Brown doing it, dribbling 28, 30 times, and then, settling for a pull-up while everybody else is standing in the corner. Those suck. It's just how sometimes they get there when they it's the worst number for me, Bobby, with them is the pace of play, the fourth quarter pace of play number, how it just drops to, they're a top third of the league overall, and then I think they dropped to like 28th or something in the fourth quarter. It's really, really,
I think
really
2-point games under 2 minutes, they're last in pace.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that stuff. It's like you want to get that out of here. But couple more things. Switching back to tonight, we haven't heard from the people in the game. And again, we'll have a lot of time to dissect the Celtics in the playoffs, who again, all of us believe, almost the conversations we're having, just to be clear, are not like, oh, they're going to lose because Tatum can't hit shots late. It's really only what could possibly derail this team on what looks like should be
that's why we're talking so much about it. There's
run to
nothing
the
else.
Championship, and that's about it. But tonight, what we did see was some pretty good stuff from the Stay Ready crew, primarily Peyton Pritchard, who again looks like a guy who absolutely belongs out there on the court, regardless of the situation. And I think, as Bobby has said, you know who your top 6 were, and you knew who they were coming in. Pritchard is 7, and he's really his minutes have been really valuable. Here is Joe Mazzulla talking about his man, our man PP, with an assist here from Josue Pavon.
Tremendous strides this season. Another solid performance out there. Obviously, without the top 6, just really put it all together this year. Just overall, just what have you seen in sense of his growth throughout the course of the regular season?
Just being a complete player from the standpoint of every game is going to be different, and he affects the game in many different ways. So he's obviously, having a consistent role for an entire season is really beneficial, which I think this is the one, it's the first time he's had that, where each and every night exactly, when he's playing, where he's playing, and kind of what the potential is. And so I think a little bit of that, and then every night it could be different. It could be shooting, it could be ball handling, it could be defense, it could be rebounding. And then he really takes pride in game management, end of quarters, start of quarters, scanning the floor. So he's it's been really good to watch him play.
And we'll welcome in Josue Pavon. Josue, did you also ask Joe why they tried tonight in a meaningless game? Because did you ask him?
I didn't, but for some reason, Gary Washburn, believe it or not, caught a stray. I mean, the dude didn't even ask a question. And Mazzulla walks off the podium and goes, "Hey, Gary, did we bounce back well tonight?" And Gary's looking at him like, he goes, "You didn't play your top 6 guys, but oh, yeah, I guess you did." Like, obviously being sarcastic, but yeah, I mean, no, I didn't ask him that. However, I did ask him about Peyton Pritchard. And I also got to talk to Payne afterwards as well. He was on the podium too. And it comes down to what we've been talking about the last year and a half or so with Pritchard, and that's opportunity, right? Instead of being the guy who has to go out there and essentially make shots, and if he doesn't, he's looking at the bench thinking that he's going to be pulled at any moment, and he didn't necessarily have a role. Whereas this year, I felt like there was a role designed for him to thrive. It wasn't up for grabs, it wasn't in jeopardy, and I think that that's why the season all came together for Pritchard. And obviously the contract extension helps, just having that security, I'm sure, mentally. I didn't get to ask him about that, but when he talked about how his role has changed drastically and how he's able to grow this year as a distributor, as Joe Mazzulla put it, someone that kicks off quarters the right way for the offense and controlling it, ending quarters strong, game management, things that are really important to Pritchard beyond 3-point shooting. And I'll take it a step further, just overall being a constant threat to drive and attack the rim. I think is a part of his game that's really opened things up for Pritchard, and that naturally, as a playmaker, things come to you easier. I feel like with Pritchard before, he was a little hesitant in terms of just being aggressive and constantly applying that pressure, whether you're going to finish strong or not. You're just being a constant threat opens up the offense. And I think Pritchard learned that a lot this year in the sense of how he's grown as a distributor / scorer, beyond being beyond a 3-point shooting threat.
Sorry, I don't know how we went back to Joe there on the box. Yeah, no doubt about it. We gave Pritchard a lot of love on the show so far.
I figured 45 minutes in, I'm like, man, they probably all Pritchard out by now, but
no, not at all. Meaning, like, a lot of what you said, I think, is what we're talking about.
He might be the only thing that matters from the night. Yeah,
he's been such a revelation in the second half of the year. I think the question was solid to Joe in terms of the overall growth. Like I said it earlier on the show, Josue, I think it's the story of the second half. In terms of like how he's made himself like invaluable on the team, which is. Again,
throwing this too. I
didn't
you guys
see coming
earlier. 81st game for him tonight. He's going to play 82 games, which is pretty crazy.
That is kind of crazy, Bobby, when you mention it. I mean, this is a guy who it didn't surprise us at any point throughout last season if he didn't play at all. We got used to it.
Might have played like 66 last year or something like that.
Right. So as you can imagine, he talked about that, how frustrating that was, and trying to carve out a role, not knowing if there was going to be one for him, and then this season, everything sort of came together. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's a big part of the second unit, obviously, in terms of someone that you can rely on, and not just he's not a one-trick pony, where I feel like that was sort of his MO for those first couple of years. It was just like, man, if he's not doing that, then get him out of here, or how long is it gonna take for this guy to get it? And a lot of it was just getting consistent minutes, consistent opportunities, and it all worked out this year. But that wasn't the case until this year.
We said it at one point, John. Maybe it's a little strong. Did he effectively replace Brogdon?
I don't know. That's a good question, and
he came close.
Here's the thing: the situation was different because of the personnel. Brogdon was essential because he was one of 3 guys on the team, maybe White, a little bit, who could create their own offense. So with that second unit or when the offense totally stagnated, Brogdon had to come in, and he was an instant offense guy, and that was great. So his role was a little bit different. Pritchard isn't needed to do what Brogdon was needed to do. So it's hard to compare the two. That being said, if you just asked the question outright, if you just swapped Brogdon and Pritchard, how much different would this team be? I don't know that they would be that different. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, he took on
I,
the role, but yeah,
I'll still give Malcolm the nod. I think he's overall, and he had another pretty good year minus a couple of injuries, and he shot the ball well again. So I'm still giving Malcolm the nod here. But again, one of the things you're most worried about with Pritchard is the defense. He was not a defensive liability this year by any means. And I think that kind of changes the conversation a little. And Brogdon was not great at all at defense, but at least he has a little bit more size, but he couldn't keep guys in front of him at all. Pritchard does a much better job keeping guys in front of him than Brogdon.
And that's going to be the question. Yeah. Does that continue into the playoffs? If it does, he's going to be critical, Sherrod. If it doesn't, he'll be in trouble too.
He will.
And that's where you might defer to Hauser, who's bigger and longer and can maybe stay in front of guys better. But like John said, he's done a good job all year.
He has, but the thing that we're kind of going back and forth as we talk more and more about this is that there are options for them to consider if, let's say, plan A doesn't work. There's a viable option that they can pivot to that can address whatever that shortcoming may be in that particular moment. And that's what championship teams are about. They have the ability to not only hit you with their best shot, but if one of their best shots isn't working, they've got something to fill that void on their roster. So to me, Pritchard, he's doing exactly what you need from a guy who was given a golden opportunity to be more of an impactful player. But make no mistake about it, if he's stinking up the joint, Joe's going to yank his ass, and Joe's going to go in a different direction without hesitation. And I think having that understanding, I think, is helped Pritchard, I think, to just be a more consistent player. Because, and again, I hate to bring up Delano again, but I'm going to bring him up again. I still think, I know that's your guy. I still think that he is not a Celtic because he did not make the most of his opportunities. Pritchard is a guy that, to me, Pritchard, he's like the gambler who bets all on a certain color and number, hits, bets a little bit more, gets a little bit more money, and the next thing you know, they're building up their kingdom little bit by little bit. Benton crapped out from day one, and when he got another shot, he crapped out right away.
He really, let me pull up those stats again from him here. He shot like 30% from the field and like 16%.
Are you putting up the stats in Boston or the ones in Portland?
Boston, yeah.
Yeah.
He was Grizzly.
Shot 37 from the field,
Celtic.
12 from three.
Yeah. I mean, in what world are you going to get minutes on the floor unless your daddy is the coach? And that ain't Joe Kidd. We've seen Joe's kids. That ain't one of them.
Wow. Who would have thought Van would come up again here?
No, it's just
Van came up before Grant tonight. How'd that happen?
Well, so that's where I'm going to take it,
right?
and that's where we're going to end it. Okay. So here it is.
Should we play it? Do we have it?
That's it.
Yo, he's not exaggerating. Post the picture I sent you. he flashed a crowd one of these.
Wow.
Why'd they do that to him?
That's worse than no tribute.
That is
Did they do
so
him dirty?
worse than no tribute.
I said, really? Right away.
Shortest one I've ever seen. Sherrod, would you agree with that? I mean, I think Evan Turner got
up there.
Evan Turner
You know
got
what
a
they
longer.
did too? You know why it was so quick?
ovation.
They waited the whole time out. They probably had people dancing on the court or whatever, or all that stuff they do in timeout. Then right as the teams were heading back onto the court, they go, Grant Williams. And then like they had to switch.
No. They dropped the mates welcome back first. But then it said welcome back Grant Williams for like 3 seconds. Flash to him for like 2, done. Like it was,
and then play picked right up. But they had the whole time out to give him a little moment, and it did sound like the crowd was cheering for him there, right? There were no
because once you hear the Mace welcome back and then his name is up there on the big screen, it was all lit up. You're waiting for like, okay, you're building up the ovation, and then he was gone.
Nice little ovation.
1, 2, 3, yeah.
But look, the play starts going, so there's no time for the. I think they screwed up. Or do you think that was intentional, John?
I think it's funny either way.
Good answer. Good
Yeah,
answer.
it really is. I've never seen anything like it, guys. Come on.
You're supposed to let it last the whole time
Evan
out
Turner.
this way.
Huh?
You're supposed to let it last the whole time. You would have had 2 minutes for the crowd to give him a little moment. Instead, you just went.
I think even Grant felt it too. He was like, "This is gonna be quick. I'm not standing up."
And they did the same thing to Rob. Rob didn't even know he was up on the screen, and then he was gone. Come on, guys. I know it's not Brown and Tatum, but these guys helped them make the
they didn't
finals.
do Rob like that though. They had it on. He was on. He had some.
He was on a little longer, but it was what?
His
10
camera
seconds?
time was longer. Plus, it was other guys too, so they were kind of paying.
Yeah,
for,
he had to fit in with some other
They threw
guys.
Bennett in there because it would have been rude not to mention him. But yeah,
I don't
Didn't
like
happen.
it.
I think Rob was embarrassed because he didn't want attention. Grant was embarrassed because that's all the attention he got. So there's a difference between the two.
So
did you guys talk about? Did you guys talk about your question to Joe about Grant? I thought that was interesting. How the way he.
Well, is
the way
that
he
part of
played.
it? They just want to move on. They gave Smart the whole show, which was warranted for 10 years. But other guys like Brogdon and Rob, and do they just want to move on?
They get the starter kit version of.
I guess they wanted to give Rob a video,
Yeah,
right?
the basic joint.
Yeah. That's
They get the the premiere, the first edition of Premiere. That's it.
I guess it makes sense, right, John? Because they gave Smart the big thing he deserved.
as
They were gonna give. They were gonna give Rob a video, which he definitely deserved. And then
Do we know
Grant
that for
gets
sure
there.
though, or did he just get ahead of it? We don't know.
That's
We don't
what
know.
the report was.
Yeah, I think maybe he just got ahead of it and said, "Hey, if you guys are thinking of doing it, don't." And they're like, "Okay."
So I guess
It's
it
possible.
makes sense.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Josue. Is it might have just been that,
Yeah.
like, right.
So Grant gets this, and Brogdon gets next to nothing.
6th man of the year in the 1 year he balled.
Brogdon played 1 year.
Yeah, that's the
Grant
thing,
was
guys.
drafted, and he played his full rookie deal with you, and
He
did
deserved
some
a little
important-
more than that.
But John, tell me,
He
but tell me,
deserved more
tell me I'm wrong
than
here though.
Brogdon.
If
Yeah.
that 1 year is a championship, standing ovation.
Not to
Everybody's on their
mention
feet.
that
Brogdon's back, everyone. Like it would have been completely different. But 1 year, you didn't get to the finals. That's just how
It's
it is.
two things. You
That's
either
how it is in
make
Boston.
you either make like an indelible mark, or like a big contribution, or you like James Posey.
1 year.
for his 1 year in 2008 coming back would be celebrated because it's like that friggin' PJ Brown, like guys like that,
Yeah.
they'd get love because it was like without you we don't get it. Malcolm
Right.
Brogdon won 6th man of the year and then he friggin' couldn't lift his arm enough to brush his teeth, in the playoffs, and like he ended up not doing it, not his own
Couldn't
fault.
make
He got
layups,
hurt.
John. Damn, he missed so
got
many damn
hurt. He
layups in
got-
the playoffs. Yeah.
He got hurt, man, and that's it. It was bad timing,
That's
and
true.
that's that. So it didn't end with anything that was significant beyond a personal award. Rob Williams, another criteria is you have to be beloved. Like Marcus Smart was both longevity
beloved.
and beloved. Rob was beloved. Grant is kind of that tweener of like, I don't know if anybody liked him. It's possible everybody liked him. I don't know.
He's
I
the
don't-
plus one, John. He's
I
the plus
don't know
one.
what Grant was.
Someone brought him
everything
to the
about
party. He
Grant-
wasn't invited.
I know. I love that. Everything about Grant
He's the plus one.
it leads you to believe they didn't like or value him nearly as much as we might have thought. There was a sign him to an extension. They drew a pretty hard line in the sand about what they wanted to do with that. Coming to the end of the year, nothing. We're not really interested. He's not part of our plans. I don't know that Grant was really ever all that here in this place.
But the fans liked him until he left.
I don't know. I think Grant was a very polarizing player. Very polarizing player.
Yeah, I think the Miami series kind of changed that a little bit. Well, I mean, that's the first time I really saw him getting that hate from Celtics fans, being like, what's he doing? And by the way, I didn't agree with that take. I didn't agree with that take at the time, but you found out how many naysayers he had. When you went face to face with Jimmy Butler and everyone was like, why'd you do that? Or, and even some of the players didn't come to his defense. I thought that was kind of weird, but that's kind of when the switch, it was official. Like, okay, this fan base is split on Grant, and possibly that locker room is split on Grant.
Yeah, coach benched him all year last year. Grant's top 10 moments.
Yeah.
Grant's top 10 Celtics memories include 5 of the cringiest things you could ever remember. With the I'm gonna make both free throws, the Jimmy Butler, the freaking Batman costume.
I knew you were gonna say the Batman. I knew you were gonna bring that shit
up. That one killed me.
I was like starting off the countdown, number 5.
And
the Batman question. I thought you were gonna say that. I could have swore you were gonna say that.
And starting 0 for 25 from 3.
Oh my god,
that was cringe. I didn't expect it to be that cringe, but like 10 seconds in, I was like,
cringe.
oh yeah, this has to stop.
I remember too, 2021. I recommended Celtics were down 3-1 in that series or whatever, and I said they should start playing Grant. And John just got off the show.
Did he get on the bike?
Yeah,
that was before.
This is the other one. Getting his face stomped.
Oh, that was a bad one too. So yeah, we have a good.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah,
I did too until that. Thanks, guys, for bringing that up.
We have a good top 5 right there.
Yeah,
we'll break it down. Everyone vote. Top 5.
I don't like I said. I think the hate went too far to the other side when he's gone because that's how people do. But
it's ridiculous. He was a good player for them.
Way to catch yourself, Bobby. Well done.
Yeah. You didn't want to go beyond
Bobby, that is good growth, Bobby.
That
because
is.
the
you didn't say phenomenal. You didn't say amazing.
That's the root of phenomenal right there. You know?
Yeah. That's exactly right. That's why we haven't heard that word as many times this year compared to last year.
At his best, he was phenomenal.
Damn it, Bobby. You're doing fine.
Fair.
What are you doing?
Is that fair?
You bring up Game 7 one more time. I swear.
Let me say what I meant to say. He was great on that 2022.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
And listen, you almost won a championship.
That's because Ime had more patience with him than Joe.
Ime utilized him well, and
Bobby had
more patience with him. He appreciated the smoke. He would give it right back. Joe's not about that, so it was different.
Bobby had 1 foot out of the bank with a sack full of money, and the cops hadn't come yet, and he had to go back for fucking.
Went back and grabbed the bill or something.
For what was in the registers? What was it? What the tellers had in the register? He had it. You had a clean getaway, Bobby.
What about? Did you talk about Bobby? Did you talk about Joe's response to your Grant question?
Yeah, I effectively asked. Yeah,
like the fact that he said, "Yeah, Grant talked and people listened." Like that
he talked about his relationship with him and being there with him from when he got drafted, and I was like, "Oh, what about all the talking?"
And
like,
then it's soured from there, pretty much.
What was the communication like? You know, all the talking and him just being that like real vocal guy. And Joe just said he talked and people listened.
Oh, he talked and people listened.
I think that spoke.
Can we play this? Listen, here's the point I'm trying to make. He did all that in 2022. Overall, had a pretty good, impactful Celtics tenure.
Stay with pretty good. That you're in the right lane now.
And beyond that, he was a big community guy, which, you know, they're big on. I thought they would do like a community montage at least or something like that. But instead we got this. Can we play it one more time?
Oh, you want the video?
Like, what is this?
Here we go. Oh.
Like, I don't care what you think of him. Can we all agree he deserved better than that?
I don't know. Yeah, right. I don't know.
5 seconds?
I mean, maybe something you just either do the full montage or nothing at all. I don't know. It's hard. You have so many.
The montage would have been embarrassing because he's not montage worthy.
Yeah, but that's the thing, John.
He's
that's
not
perfect. Okay,
sponge worthy. Yeah,
that's the criteria. If you're not montage worthy, then that's it. You don't get a tribute, you know. Or if you want to give someone a salute for the community work, which is what Kelly Olynyk got when he first came back, then that's fine. But yeah,
I was gonna say, I feel like Olynyk got something.
Yeah, it was the community award.
Yeah,
it wasn't like Heroes Among Us, but it was something similar. They just shot him out for everything he did throughout his tenure here, and pics, videos, all the stuff that he did at various schools and public events. But yeah, I mean, look, my whole thing with Grant, I just think that
obviously pissed. people off like to a greater level than anyone knew.
I just think he was almost like the sophomore hanging out with the seniors, and he just maybe, I don't know, started thinking that he had way more say than he did. Something like that.
That's really what it is. That's really what it is. Above all else,
coming off of that finals appearance, it was like he came back with this different. He took it up a notch.
Draymond's wedding is Grant in a nutshell. It's like, it's like Sherrod every once in a while.
You just made a face.
He's just embarrassed to be part of our out of our little cohort here.
He's like, can you guys stop
forget
dragging
about that
Grant?
wedding?
It's like eight of the best players in the world, and then Grant like in the picture, like
the biggest smile on his face. Yeah, right. It's exactly.
Who was invited but probably should not have been invited? Your thoughts? It's Grant.
yeah, exactly.
Grant.
But just be happy you're in the room. You don't got to be all. But that's
and
who he
was.
That's who he is.
Damn sure he was.
Yeah.
Oh God. It's okay. I at the end of the day, I agree with Bobby. I would have done a little bit more than that, or at least timed it poorly, and that's fine. But yes, no montage for you. That's it. No montage for you.
No
Grant.
montage for
Well,
you.
we got a great interview with him anyway. You can check out on CLNS Media.
Check it out. We're going to wrap. We got one more on Sunday, and then it's going to be playoff time. We'll do shows during the week to get everybody to prime the pump, so to speak.
Yes, sir.
And then we're off and running, and that's that. Next weekend, we're off.
Hey, don't forget, one more game.
What? I just said that. Didn't I say that?
I thought you were on to the playoffs.
You led with
that. No, I mean, we've been on to the playoffs for 2 months. So
mentally.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're on again on Sunday. We'll wrap it up with you guys, and then stay tuned, subscribe, follow us on Twitter for announcements on when we're going to go live during the week. When we get a sense of who the Celtics, and again, you're not going to get a sense of who they play until pretty much the very end because they're waiting for that second play-in game. But you'll start to rule some people out soon enough, and you'll have an idea who that's going to be, who might come down to. We'll preview that, and we'll move on. Sunday's fun because there could be some movement in the NBA in terms of seeding, and that'll change things as well as in terms of potential opponents. So we'll talk about that. In the meantime, hang in there. Have a good weekend. Playoffs are almost here. We almost made it, family. Thank you guys for sticking with us through these friggin' games. Holy shit. This has been something.
Yeah, man.
I don't know how we squeezed an hour plus out of this one, but we did. With the help of you guys in the chat. Yeah,
thanks to Grant.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks all. Grant.
Yeah, pretty much.
We'll see you guys Sunday.
Wait, Amit's got an outro for us, I think.
No, he doesn't.
He said he was going to work on an outro.
He had a phenomenal game. Forfeit's out. I think it's an option. That did not sound like a chair.
It was a freaking chair. It does sound like a chair.